Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Nikki with Montana Crochet Creations. Today's tutorial, we're going to be turning this cross stitch pattern into a corner to corner crochet piece here. I just found this on Pinterest. I came across it. I will link link it down in the description where I found the pin, just in case if you guys wanted to print this off as well. If you've ever done cross stitch and you've seen their patterns, you know how easy it is to turn it into a corner to corner pattern. So what I've done here is I've just printed off this, basically like their little, a screenshot of their little pattern here for the cross stitch. And then I went through and I numbered each one of my squares down here and each one of my squares along the very top. So that way I know what rows I am on whenever I'm working on this corner to corner portion, making this piece. So you'll need a few things for this. They have black, purple, orange, and green. I don't have any purple, so I'm not going to use purple. I am going to use some black yarn here. I do have some orange. I believe this is pumpkin from Red Heart Super Saver. All of my yarns are Red Heart Super Saver that I am using today. This one is called lime green, I believe. And then I'm also using some yellow, which I think is sunshine, I want to say. I will link all of these down in this description box, so that way you can purchase those if you want. I am also going to be using a 4.25 millimeter crochet hook right here, if you can see that. You will need a pair of scissors for clipping your tails at the very, very end, and you will need a yarn needle for weaving in your tails at the very end. When I'm working on this corner to corner crochet pattern with you, I'm going to show you how to properly change colors if you are new to corner, and we'll just continue on from there. I'm not exactly sure how big this is going to be, so it's going to be a nice fun little journey for us. So go ahead and grab all of your supplies and we'll get started on our corner to corner crochet. All right, so we're going to get started on our corner to corner crochet here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start down here in this very corner here. You can't see it because I did just take a little snip of this. There's not really, when I started looking at it, there's not really a website. You just kind of can screenshot it and print it off. So I'm going to start in this very first corner here. So let's get that out of the way. I'm going to grab my hook. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with our chain of 6 here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now that we have our chain of 6, we're going to do a double crochet in our 4th chain from our hook. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We're yarning over, inserting our hook into that 4th chain, and yarn over and pull up our loop. We have our 3 loops on our hook right here. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2 of those, and then we'll yarn over and pull through 2 again. Now we're going to double crochet in the next chain left here. And then we'll double crochet in our very last chain, just like this. So what that has done right there is that has created our very first square for our corner to corner crochet project here. I might put mine on my table. It'd be a really cute pillowcase as well. So for a decorative pillow for Halloween. So that is what your very first square is going to look like. So what I like to do, I don't think I have a white. Let me see if I can find a pen that is a little more contrasting with this black. I actually found a white colored pencil. So I'm just going to come over here and draw a line or maybe even an X through that first square that I did. So technically that is row 1 and it's right over kind of where that little screenshot image was. So that's our first one. So we're done with row 1. Now to continue on with row 2, we're going to chain 6 again. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go into our 4th chain from our hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to double crochet in that 4th chain. And we're going to, oops, get that all the way through. double crochet in our next chain. So that chain 4 that we're skipping right there, that counts as our first double crochet. And then now we're going to double crochet in this last chain right here. So what we're going to do for our next square of row 2 is we're going to take the square from row 1, we're going to flip that. So we're going to kind of just turn that and come over here to where we started our chain. And I'm going to create a slip stitch right there. So now I've just connected square 1 of row 2 to our very first row. We're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to come over and we'll double crochet in each of these 3 remaining stitches across the top here. So you're still going to have a total of 4 because your double crochet is going to count as your first, or your chain 3 is going to count as your first double crochet. So there's 1 going into our next one for 2, and then into the top of that chain 4. So that has completed our second square of row 2. So what we're going to do next, so if you look at it, now we've kind of are working like this way. So we've got row 1 right here, and then we have row 2, our 2 squares. So now we're going to start working up and filling 1 extra square here and working our way across this direction. And then I'm going to take my pattern here, and I'm just going to mark off that I'm done with row 2, and then now I'll start working on row 3. And I think the white colored pencil right here is going to be able to make it show out a little bit, so then that way, because looking at the black, it is a little hard to see. So moving on to row 3 of our corner to corner crochet here, we're going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're creating a brand new square. So we're going to go into our 4th chain from our hook. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to double crochet. Then we'll double crochet in our last 2 remaining chains. That's going to give you a total of 4 double crochet, because remember that chain 4 that we skipped at the beginning counts as your first double crochet. So there's 2, or there's 3, and then here's our last one for 4. And so now we'll come over, we're going to take this piece and turn it over. We will slip stitch to the very top of this chain 4 from the previous row. And then now if you look at it, we've created 1 more square. So if you look at it this way, now we're working our way up. And that's exactly what we want to do. So now we're going to work on our square that's here, and then we'll work on our square that's going to attach there. So we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to go into our next chain from the previous row. So there's 1, 2. Oh my goodness. Grab a little more yarn here. And then we'll go into our last one because we want to have 4 double crochet. Just like that. And so then we'll come over here. We're going to, at this point, you can see this is almost as tall as the next one. So we're just going to slip stitch to the top of our chain 4. We want to continue to kind of make that step pattern. So now we've attached to this square here. We're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to double crochet in our 3 stitches across the top right here. So getting into there. So there's 1, 2, and then into the top of that chain 4. There's 3. And then that just created our last square for row 3. And now you can see it's kind of starting to, it kind of creates like that stair pattern right there. For row 4, we're going to continue making our black portion bigger. And it looks like we're going to go until we get to row, I want to say row 9. We're going to work through row 9. At row 10, we'll start adding in other colors. So we're just going to keep working this. We're going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Double crocheting that 4th chain from our hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Placing our double crochet. Double crocheting in our last 2 remaining chains here. Just like this. So now we have our square. We're going to come over, slip stitch to the top of this next square from the previous row. Chain 3, and then now we'll double crochet in each of these 3 stitches here, and then now we'll come over and slip stitch to the top of this square here, just like that. Now we're going to chain 3, so 1, 2, 3, then we'll double crochet in each of these chains across the top. I really shouldn't crochet today, I'm having some major issues. And then we'll chain 3. And then we're going to finish our double crochets across this here. So there's 1. And so this is where we're kind of sitting right now. So it's slowly starting to get bigger. So now we're going to chain 6 because we're going to create our next square for our next row. 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll double crochet into our 4th chain from our hook and then double crochet into each one of those. And we'll continue working our way down, and we'll just keep making it bigger until we are finished with row 10. So right now we are on row 4. So we were going to finish until we're done with row 10. And once we're done with row 10, I'll come back and show you how we're going to change colors on our corner to corner crochet. Okay, so I went ahead and started working on row 11. And if we look at it, this is how the project is starting. This is the piece that we're looking at here. So we're looking at this corner right here on our pattern. So I already did my 4 black squares right here. Now we're going to switch, and I think I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to do green. I am going to do green, orange, and then I think I'll do yellow right here for the bee. So we're going to switch to our green yarn here. So what I've done is I did my 4 double crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and come into here just as I would if I were going to slip stitch through. Now we're not going to detach our black yarn. We're going to leave our colors attached here. So now I'm going to grab my green yarn, and I'm just going to pull this through. Just like that, and create my slip stitch. And now I can chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. And my black yarn, even though it is number 4, this is not Red Heart Super Saver. I can't remember what brand this was, but it's a little bit of a lighter weight number 4 yarn, but it is still a number 4. So my textures of my different colors are going to be slightly different. So now I'm going to come over, and I'm just going to double crochet in my next 3 stitches here. There's 2. Oh shoot, I didn't grab my black. Sorry about that. So what we're doing is we're taking our black yarn. Let me do that where you can see it. Let me get my green out of the way. And we're carrying our black yarn over. Because we're going to have 2 squares of green. So we're just going to carry our black yarn over. I'm going to leave my green yarn tail down there. I'll weave that in later. And I'm just going to crochet over this black that I'm working with. And you'll see why in just a minute. So make sure you're grabbing your black yarn tail here. I'm going to double crochet over the top of that. Make sure you grab it. Don't do what I just did and missed it when I started working on my first square. Okay, so now I've got one more chain that I've got, or one more stitch to work into from the previous row. Work over my black yarn here. Grab a little bit more green, just like that. So now we have our first square for our green done. And then we're just going to continue working over our black for our next square. Because if you look right here, we've got our 2 squares that we're going to do for green, and then we'll switch back to black for the rest of it. So I'm coming over here, still working over my black yarn. I'm going to slip stitch to my first, to the top of that first stitch right there, and then I'm going to chain 3. And then now I will work over my black yarn in these next 3 stitches. There's 2, and then grabbing our last one. Oops. Just like that. Now, at this point, I am just going to drop my green yarn, because the reason being, let me get my black back out of the way. I don't want those to get tangled, and you want to be careful. You don't want them to get tangled up in the back. The reason being is because I'm going to start working with just my black. And whenever it does come time for me to pick up the green yarn again, I can just pick it up. So now I'm just going to leave this just sitting over here hanging out, and then I'm going to complete the rest of my black squares coming over here. So go ahead and do that. I will meet you back here in a few minutes when I am done with working the rest of my black squares for this corner to corner crochet, and we'll just continue on from there. So moving on to row 12, I just started my first little square here for row 12. I'm going to come over. We are going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares of the black right here. So I'm just going to come over, slip stitch, work my 5 squares, and then at that point, then we'll grab our green yarn and continue on from there. So I'm already did my first one. I am starting my second one. So I've chained 3. And I'm going to double crochet in each one of those chains going across here. So that's square 2. And then I'm going to do that until 5. So I'll meet you back here in a few minutes when I have my 5 black squares of row 12 done, and then we'll continue on and we'll pick up our green yarn. All right, for round 12, I completed my first 5 stitches. So my first 5 squares, and now we're back over here to our green. So I am going to grab my green yarn. I'm going to chain 3. So I'm going to just pull my black yarn nice and tight. So I'm going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to continue to work over our black yarn right here, but I'm going to double crochet in each one of these stitches along this edge right here. And I'm just going to keep working over my black yarn right here. I'm going to come over and slip stitch to the top of this first stitch right here, still with our green. So this is our second square. And you'll notice there will be a good side and a bad side of this, because as we're working across this, we're going to move our yarn around and manipulate it to where you can't see it. So we're going to chain 3. Then we'll double crochet in our stitches across. And we'll come over, we're going to slip stitch. And then we're going to create our third green square. So chain 3. We're still working with our black yarn, moving it up. And then now what I'm going to do is I will just drop my green yarn. I'm going to keep it on the back side here. And like I said, you just kind of manipulate your yarn around. I don't want the green showing because that's going to be our back side. So I don't want the green showing there. So I'm going to come over. I'm going to slip stitch. And then I'm going to chain 3. So now I have dropped my green yarn, and we'll just keep working on that as whenever I get back over here, because we'll be adding more green squares. So I'm going to finish out this section of 12 with my black squares. So that's going to leave us with, we will need to do, so we did our 3 green right here. So there's 1, 2, 3. So that's going to leave us with needing to do 1, 2, 3, 4 black squares is what we will have, and then we'll move on to round 13. So starting with row 13, where we're going to have 1, 2, 3, we'll do 4 squares of black right here. So I'm going to do my 4 squares of black, then we'll be switching to our green yarn. So I'm going to chain 6, 4, 5, 6, double crochet in my 4th chain from my hook, double crochet in these next 2 remaining chains. It's the only bad thing about black yarn is like it is so hard. And then now we're going to grab our 3rd one. So that gives us our 4 double crochets total. Come over, slip stitch to the top there, do my chain 3, and then I'll double crochet in each of those stitches across. 1, 2, 3, that gives me a total of 4. And then I'll slip stitch up, and I'm going to do that for 2 more stitches. And then at that point, we're going to grab our green yarn, and then we're going to grab our green yarn. We're going to do 2, so we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 squares of our green yarn, and then we'll finish with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares of black. So go ahead and do that. I will meet you back over here when I am done with my 4 squares of green and then have finished the black. And then we're going to continue on with our next row. And then that one's going to be a little bit different once we get to the green, because we're going to have a black square in between. So go ahead and finish working this row on your corner to corner crochet, and we'll continue on from there. I'm done with row 13 and now working on row 14. So we're going to, starting with our black here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to do 6 of our black rows of our yarn. I'm going to do that. I'll meet you back here when I'm done with that. But just so you can see what I've done, I've started with my first one here. And just like what I've been doing, I'm going to chain 3, and then I'll double crochet in each one of those chains from the previous rounds. Remember, those are our chain 3s when we start each one of these squares. And I'm going to place my 3 double crochets in those, so for a total of 4. Come over, I'll slip stitch, chain 3 again, and then I'm going to do that until I have 6 of these squares right here. And then at that point, I will meet you back when we pick up our green yarn. I'll meet you back over here, and we'll just continue on working on our corner to corner crochet from there. Okay, so I finished my 6 black squares right here, coming up to that. And now we're going to start working on our green. So what we're going to do here, so there's my 6 black that I finished. So I'm going to have 1 square of green, 1 square of black, and then 2 squares of green. So we're actually going to carry both our black and our green up through this section right here, because we're having that black section in the middle. So we need to be able to continue on working all the way up. So we're going to start with that. I've got my black yarn here and my green. So I'm just going to bring my green yarn up, and I'm going to slip stitch that. Hold on. Get my green yarn up first. I'm going to take my black, come over, go into my little space right there, and I'm going to slip stitch, tighten up my black yarn a little bit, and then bring that all up here along the top. So I'm going to chain 3, then I'm going to double crochet along the top of my chain 3 right here from the previous row, working over my black yarn. So just putting in my double crochet. So there's 1, 2, and going into my 3rd one. Remember keeping that black towards the back of your project because you're corner to corner, because you don't want to be able to see that from the front. So if I flip it over, you can tell you can't see that from the front. That's why we want to keep it in the back. So I'm going to drop my green yarn, and now I have my black. So I'm going to chain 3. I'm going to double crochet in each one of those, but I'm going to work over my green yarn because I'll need that for the next stitch, for our next little square. So there's 1, 2, and then going into my 3rd. So that creates our center little black square right here. And so now I will drop my black yarn and grab my green yarn. I'm going to come over. I will slip stitch. I'm going to pull my black yarn tight as well with my green. I'm just going to slip stitch that through. Now I'll just keep working over the top of my black yarn, going along the edge right here. And what I'm doing whenever I mess with my yarn balls, I'm making sure that one is not laying over the top of the other one, because if you don't do that, then they're going to end up getting tangled up on top of each other, and then that's when it kind of turns into a problem and it starts to get all knotted up. So I'm going to chain 3. I'm going to work over my black yarn, double crochet in my next 3 stitches. There's 1, 2, and we have 3. And remember, this time we were going to do 2 green squares. So now I'm going to come over and slip stitch like that. I'll chain 3, still working over my black. So 1, 2, 3, work over my, and I'm going to double crochet in my next stitch over the top of my black yarn, and then into that last stitch. And then I'm still going to what we're going to do now is we're going to switch back to our black yarn, and then we'll continue working our black pieces from there. So I'm going to drop my green yarn. I'll flip that back over the top of my black. And then I'm going to grab my black yarn. We will slip stitch just like this. And then make sure we pull that nice and snug, both of them. You want them to be nice and tight. And then I'm just going to leave my green yarn, hold on, I'm kind of tangled here. I'm going to leave my green yarn just sitting over here off to the side. I'm just going to drop it. I'm not going to continue working over the top of that. There's my chain 3. Making sure our green yarn is off to the back here. And then I will double crochet in each of these stitches to the very end. So that looks like we have a total of, once we're done with our green, so we did our green, we did our black, and then we had our 2 greens right here. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll have 4 black blocks of our corner to corner right there. And like I said, I'm going to link this in the description box. So go ahead, print this off from the pin, and then continue working that. I'm just going to continue working with my pattern all the way until I get over to row 19. And at that point, I'll show you how we'll start. We're going to start squaring it off at the top. And then we'll end up having to square it off over here on this side as well. So once I get to that point over there, then I will come back. I'll show you how I'm going to be squaring those off. But I feel like you kind of get the gist of the right way of how to change colors with your corner to corner. So yeah, I'm just going to continue working that, and then I'll meet you back here when it's time to start squaring this off. All right, so we're at the section of our corner to corner where we're going to start squaring off the top portion right here. So what we're going to do, I am at my very last square of row 19. So I'm literally going to slip stitch, then I will flip it around just like this. And then I am going to slip stitch along the top edge of this square right here. So in each one of these stitches from the previous row, I'm just going to slip stitch all the way to that edge right there, into my last one. And what that has done is that has squared off the top portion of our blanket right there. So with our blanket turned around, now we'll start working back down this way. So we're going to start working all the way back down. I'm done with green. We don't need any more of that, so I have fastened that off. I did not weave in my yarn tails yet, but I did go ahead and fasten it off. So we're just going to come over here and start working our way up. So we're just going, let me get this situated here, all these colors. So I'm just going to chain 3, then I'll come in and I'm going to double crochet in each one of these chains for a total for 3 times. So we're going to have a total of 4 double crochet. We'll come over, we'll slip stitch to our next square here. And we're going to do that on this row for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to do that for a total of 6 black. And then we're going to work our way all the way back down, changing to the orange. And then if you're using purple, then go ahead and use purple, but I'm using yellow. And then we'll work our way all the way back down. And then when we come to this corner over here, we're going to start working it the exact same way that we did up here at the top. All right, so I've made it over here to this portion where we're going to start squaring off our other side right here. So we're just going to do that exactly the way that we were when we started working and squaring off this side. So I am just going to, I just slip stitched. I'm going to flip this around and then, hold on, let me get that slip stitch done. And then I'm just going to slip stitch along the edge here. Make sure I grab enough yarn. All along the edge here till I come to my very next corner. And then we're just going to continue working this pattern here. I'm just going to keep working it all the way up to the top here until I am done. I just wanted to come back and show you how we're squaring off this one side. We're just going to continue to keep following our pattern. It's going to get smaller and smaller as we get to the very end, and then we'll just continue on from there. So keep working that. I'll meet you back here in a few minutes whenever I am done with my corner to corner project here, and then we'll just go on from there. All right, so I finished the front part here of my corner to corner little I guess I'm going to say this is kind of like a little table runner here. I'm going to put this in the middle of my table unless my daughter comes over, and they're going to come over for dinner tonight and she decides that she wants to take it. But what I'm going to do next is we've got our back here. I've got a few of these loose yarn tails, and I'm going to go ahead and weave those yarn tails in. So I'm going to get that done really fast, and I'll meet you back here in a few minutes, and then we'll take a look at our final project. All right, so I have finished my corner to corner little project here. I hope you guys all enjoyed this tutorial. I think this turned out really, really cute. I like how the yellow, orange, and green yarn was a little bit of a heavier number 4 weight yarn. So it's kind of made this, kind of given it that little bit of a 3D feel to it. And I think it turned out great. So please make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. By commenting, it does help my videos show up in the YouTube search engine a lot easier. If you guys really do enjoy what I'm doing, then please consider hitting that join button down below. That'll give you early access to all my videos, just like this one right here. It does help me purchase supplies to create projects like this so you guys can work on them at home. And that's everything for today. I love you guys all so very much. I will see you in my next video.